You know, every school gets a report card, but I'm not talking about grades for math or history. Nope. This is a report card for the school itself, a formal judgment on how well it's doing its job. And that's where school inspections come in.
So, have you ever wondered what's actually on an inspector's checklist when they walk through those doors? What are they really looking for? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the official rulebook, the Inspection Toolkit, to find out exactly that.
All right, let's get into it. The whole thing is built around this one key document, the Inspection Toolkit. The best way to think about it is like an official marking scheme. It's what makes sure every single school is measured against the exact same high standards. And why? Well, it all boils down to one thing, making sure every kid gets a high-quality education. So let's break down the main subjects on this ultimate school report card.
Okay, first up, and this is the big one. It's the absolute foundation of everything else, keeping children safe. I mean, think about it. Before any real learning can happen, a school has to be a safe place. It's a total non-negotiable, and it is the very first thing inspectors check.
And the mindset they're looking for here is actually pretty fascinating. The toolkit says that a truly safe school doesn't have the attitude of, oh, that would never happen here. No, quite the opposite. They have to operate with this constant vigilance, this mindset of it could happen here. It's all about being proactive, not waiting for something to go wrong before you act.
And when it comes to this subject, there's no middle ground. It's basically a pass or fail. If a school meets the standard, that means it's got this open culture where safety is literally everyone's job. Staff know what to do, and kids feel safe and know who to talk to. But if it's not met, well, that means there are serious failures. It means children are being left unsafe. The stakes really couldn't be any higher.
All right, so once that foundation of safety is established, we move on to the next big question. A school can be safe, sure, but is it a place where every single student can actually thrive? That's what our next subject is all about, inclusion.
And inclusion is a really broad idea, as you can see here. Inspectors are looking at how the school supports a whole range of different groups. We're talking about pupils with special educational needs and disabilities. You'll often hear that called SEND, but also disadvantaged pupils, kids in social care. Really, it's about spotting and breaking down barriers for any student who might be facing them.
So, how do schools actually make this happen? Well, the toolkit points to something called the graduated approach. It's basically a four-step loop that just keeps going. First, you assess what a student needs. Then, you plan the right kind of support. Next, you actually do it, put the plan into action. And finally, you review how it's working. And then the cycle starts all over again. It's not a one-and-done thing. It's this constant process of checking in and adjusting.
And this is so important to understand. The whole point of inclusion is not about lowering the bar or making things easier. Absolutely not. It's about keeping those high expectations for everybody, but then giving kids the specific, targeted support they need to actually reach that bar. It's about leveling the playing field, not lowering the goalposts.
Okay, so we have a safe school, and it's an inclusive school. Now we get to the academic core, right? The meat and potatoes, the curriculum and the teaching. What are kids actually learning, and how good is the instruction?
And you're going to see a theme here, because the key word, once again, is all. Inspectors are looking for a curriculum that is just as ambitious for a student with SEND as it is for anyone else. No exceptions. It has to be broad, it has to be balanced, and it has to be designed to give every single pupil the knowledge and skills they're going to need to succeed.
Now, this is a really crucial distinction that inspectors make. They're looking at two sides of the coin, the intent and the implementation. So the intent is the plan on paper. Is the curriculum ambitious? Does it make sense? Is it all laid out logically? But then there's the implementation. How does that beautiful plan actually come to life in the classroom? And a school has to nail both. Because, let's be honest, a brilliant plan on paper is pretty useless if the teaching doesn't deliver.
So, you've got a safe, inclusive school with a fantastic curriculum and great teaching. The big question is, so what? What's the result of all that hard work? And that brings us to our next subject, achievement. This is where we see the impact of everything we've talked about so far.
Now, you might see a school touting a big, flashy number like this. 85% of our kids pass the big exam. And that sounds great, right? But inspectors know better. They know that one number on its own doesn't even come close to telling the whole story. They dig way, way deeper than that.
So, what does real achievement look like in an inspector's eyes? Well, it's about stuff you can actually see and measure in the kids themselves. Are they getting that rock-solid foundation in things like reading and math? Can they read fluently and with confidence? When you look at the work they're producing, is it high-quality stuff? And maybe the most important question of all, are they truly ready for what comes next? Whether that's moving up a grade, heading off to secondary school, or stepping out into the world.
And finally, we get to the people steering the ship. The last, and you could argue the most important subject of all, leadership and governance. This is the engine room, right? It's what powers everything else and makes it all work.
Because really, strong leadership is what makes everything else we've talked about even possible. Inspectors want to see a clear, ambitious vision, for sure, but they also dig into the nitty-gritty. How are leaders looking after their staff's workload and well-being? How well do they connect with parents and the wider community? It's that leadership that acts like the glue, holding the whole school together.
So when you take a step back and look at the whole picture, you start to see this isn't just some boring bureaucratic checklist. Not at all. The whole toolkit is really a framework designed to answer one single fundamental question. Is this school a place where every single child can feel safe, feel included, and is given everything they need to truly thrive?
So there you have it. It's a system that, when you break it down, is all about prioritizing what really, truly matters. And now that you've had a peek at the official marking scheme, it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? How would your local school score?